You don't scare Negroes today with no badge or no white skin or no white sheet or no white anything else. The police the same way. They put their club upside your head and then turn around and accuse you of attacking them. Every case of police brutality against a Negro follows the same pattern. They attack you, bust you all upside your mouth, and then take you to court and charge you with assault. What kind of democracy is that? What kind of freedom is that? What kind of social or political system is it when a black man has no voice in court, has nothing on his side other than what the white man chooses to give him? My brothers and sisters, we have to put a stop to this. And it will never be stopped until we stop it ourselves. They attack the victim. And then the criminal who attacked the victim accuses the victim of attacking him. This is American justice. This is American democracy. And those of you who are familiar with it know that in 20 million black people in this country have been like boys in the white man's house. He even calls us boys. Don't care how big you get, he calls you boy. You can be a professor. To him, you're just another boy. I heard him calling Ralph Bunch. Why, he's a good old boy. And if we can't do it, we should hush our mouth.
Hey, what's up, fam? How you doing? Happy doing super great from wherever you're watching us from. These are presented Jintek Stories, and I'm hoping that you're doing good. Now, amongst the people that I've talked about democracy, different social scientists have come to discuss about democracy. Some people say democracy is a smokescreen in the United States. Some people say democracy is an hypocrisy. And Malcom X, he has always, and he fought for black people. And this is so legendary, and everyone knows this, right? He fought for black folks, and he was questioning democracy. Why are you scaring black folks if you say that there is freedom of speech, if you say that there is democracy? And as he says that democracy is an hypocrisy. Now, Malcom X's assertion that democracy is hypocrisy in America is rooted in his critique of the contradictions between American democratic ideals and the systemic racial injustices faced by black people. The statements highlights the disparity between the theoretical foundations of American democracy, such as freedom, equality, and justice for all, and the lived experiences of marginalized communities, particularly African Americans or Black Americans. To dissect these assertions thoroughly, we need to look at the historical things that happened, political things that happened, and also social things that happened, so that we can give political, social, economical perspectives about what we see within the structural inequalities which is embedded in the American system. Let us watch this video by Malcom X. He shares this bold speech trying to warn, the people who are in power, especially the white America, to stop bullying or to stop threatening black people of America. And he questions, why is the freedom of speech that you guys say, why is equality for all that you guys said? Because he don't see it there. And thus, he questions this. I want to switch this video by Malcom X. It's really, really important speech. It's a 1963 speech that he gave. And it is so resonating until today. If you watch it, the video, you'll get to understand what I'm talking about. So let's watch the video. I'll be back. And just a first request. For those who are watching us for the first time, I'll ask you to subscribe our channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. For those who are supporting me through my Cash App, those who are donating through Super Thanks, I'm highly grateful, and keep doing what you're doing, and we all gonna be rising. So until then, let's watch the video. I'll be back with my commentary as usual.
If you can't do for yourself what the white man is doing for himself, don't say you're equal with the white man. Right. If you can't set up a factory like he sets up a factory, don't talk that old equality talk. Right. Get off the welfare. Right. Get out of that compensation line. Right. Be a man. Right. Earn what you need for your own family. Right. Then your family respects you. Right. They are proud to say, that's my father. Right. She's proud to say, that's my husband. Father means you're taking care of those children. Just because you made them, that don't mean you're a father. Anybody can make a baby, but anybody can't take care of them. Anybody can go and get a woman, but anybody can't take care of a woman. Yes, we hate laziness, we hate drunkenness, we hate dope addiction, we hate nicotine, we hate all of the vices that the white man has taught us to partake in. And he accuses us of hating him. Why? Because the white man knows you're more dangerous sober than you are drunk. Yeah. You are more dangerous sober than you are drunk. He's not worrying about no dancing, singing, clowning Negro. He's worried about you when you stop dancing, when you stop singing, when you stop clowning and start thinking. Then he gets worried. And you should keep him worried. And now you know you need someone to teach you to respect your woman. You say, well, what about the white woman? No, you've been respecting her. Every time you see a Negro man, he got his hat on, showing his teeth to some pale-skinned white woman. And the mistake that you and I have made is leaving our women unprotected. Anybody can get to her. Anybody can abuse her. Any old white man can come and pat a black woman. Can he not? And we are teaching the white man keep his hands and his eyes off our women. What makes the so-called Negro unable to stand on his own 2 feet? He has no self-confidence. He has no proud confidence in his own race, because the white man destroyed your and my past, destroyed our knowledge of our culture. And by having destroyed it, now we don't know we have any achievements, any accomplishments. And as long as you can be convinced that you never did anything, you can never do anything. This is why the white man, his little children, he tells them about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, all these white heroes. But we are never taught about any black hero. Only someone we're shown in history is my grandfather was picking cotton. Cotton picking don't move me. No. But when it comes to on you and me, we don't think we can stand on our own 2 feet. We wake up, we clean up, and we stand up. And once we can stand up like a man on our own feet, we stop begging the white man. And we stop apologizing to the white man. We stop compromising with the white man. Then the world will look at us with recognition and respect. But as long as you run around here wearing the white man's name, bragging about you one of the Joneses, or one of the Browns, or one of the Smiths, or as long as you run around here bragging about your part in this so-called American democracy, then you will always be looked down upon as a chump by the white man. You never will be given recognition nor respect. Your problem will continue to go unsolved, and we'll still be in the same rut or ditch 1,000 years from now that we're in right now.
Mr. O'Connor.
What is your real name?
Malcom X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish that
I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith. Excuse me for answering you this way.
That's
if
all right.
a Chinese person were to say his name was Patrick Murphy, you would look at him like he's insane, because Murphy is an Irish name, a European name, or the name that has a Caucasian or white background. And a yellow person, Chinese is a yellow man, and he has nothing to do or no connection whatsoever with the name Murphy. And if it doesn't look proper for a person who is yellow or Chinese to be walking around named Murphy or Jones or Johnson or Bunch or Powell, I think it would be just as improper for a black person or the so-called Negro in this country, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to walk around with these names. And therefore he teaches us that during slavery, the same slave master who owned us put his last name on us to denote that we were his property. So that when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson. If you go back in his history, you'll find that he was once his grandfather, or one of his forefathers, was owned by a white man who was named Johnson. If his name is Bunch, his grandfather was owned by a white man.
I get the point.
That was.
Let me ask you about the status of Elijah Muhammad. First of all, is he ill?
I spoke to him today. He is in better health than he has been. He's suffering from asthmatic bronchitis.
Is that why he didn't attend your rally on last Tuesday?
Yeah, the only reason that he didn't attend was his ill condition, and the weather here, especially on that particular day, was of such nature that it would have been almost insane for him to come.
Well, now, did you hold that meeting last Tuesday because it coincided with the general election, the primary election?
I think if you study the history of Mr. Muhammad's work and religious work in this country, we've had our convention on February the 26th every year for, I think, the past 33 years.
Well, now, while you don't care to discuss your former name or the name that the slave master gave to your antecedents, it is a matter of record that Muhammad's last name was Poole, Elijah Poole.
No, that's the name that his slave master gave to his grandfather or great-grandfather, but that's not his name.
Well, his mother and father thought when they called him Elijah Poole that that was his name.
They didn't know any better.
Well, if they didn't know any better or not, they thought that was his name.
Yes, sir, but sir...
But what I'm trying to find out is when did he cease to be Elijah Poole and get to be Elijah Muhammad?
In 1931, I think it was, in Detroit, he was taught the true history of our people and made aware at that time that he was wearing an English name, and by not being an Englishman, he looked out of place. And his teacher gave him the name that he's wearing today, Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad.
All right, now when did he become what he purports to be in your literature, the son of Allah?
I've never heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad referred to as the son of Allah.
The prophet of Allah.
I've never heard him referred to as the prophet of Allah.
What do you refer to him
Messenger of Allah.
All right, the messenger of Allah, and I appreciate the correction.
Yes, he says that a prophet is somebody who predicts the future, and he's not predicting the future, whereas a messenger is someone who carries a message that has been given to him by one who authors that message.
Why, now, who gave him the message, and to whom is it supposed to be delivered?
Master W.F. Muhammad, the one who taught him, is the author of the message. He gave it to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which makes him the messenger. And he's to deliver that message of truth and righteousness to the 20 million American so-called Negroes, which means he's to teach us the truth, which will awaken us, and then show us how to live a life of righteousness, which will automatically qualify us for recognition as human beings by all other righteous human beings here on this earth.
Well, now, one other question. With reference to what Mr. Hurlbut asked you a little bit ago, you took a very moderate position of wanting independence without having any hatred for the whites. Do I understand that correctly?
Hatred is not involved in it whatsoever.
Well, I recall in a recent plane crash, 2 or 3 years ago, or less than that, a charter flight on Air France in which a group of people from Atlanta, Georgia, were, as they say in the business, as they took off from Orly Field. And you were quoted at that time as expressing great gratification that this tragedy had occurred. Do you recall that?
I recall it.
What did you say? Do you remember?
The press misinterpreted it and misrepresented it.
What did you say?
They said that it was made at a Muslim meeting. It wasn't. It was made at a rally of Negroes, Baptist, Methodist, Catholic, and otherwise in Los Angeles, who were rallying to protest the brutal shooting of 7 unarmed Negroes.
And what did you
by
say?
Heavily armed white policemen in the city of Los Angeles. And because we are a people who have been taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to never carry weapons of any kind, but to get on God's side and rely on God to fight our battles for us, at the time that these brothers were shot down so brutally, I pointed out at the funeral of the brother who died that God would step in and take a hand in giving us some form of justice for the brutal killing of our brother. And when the plane crashed in France, I pointed out to the crowd at this rally that this was an act of God showing his wrath or complete resentment over the brutal form of injustice that had been inflicted upon our poor unarmed brothers.
Were you saying that, or do you believe that?
At that time, Dr. Billy Graham was in a crusade in Chicago, And the press, your papers here in this city, quoted Billy Graham of also saying that plane crash was an act of God. And if you take time to check the newspapers, I think that you'll find that this is correct. But no one thought that Billy Graham was so wrong when he attributed the crash of this plane to his God. But when we say that it come from our God, then we're looked upon as being, outrageous.
I know, but you took the position that this was a matter of satisfaction to you for an injustice done against you, and I think that that's a trifle severe.
We did not think that it was a coincidence that 120 of the whites on this plane came from the state of Georgia, a state that has the worst record in the history of America for the mistreatment of black people in this country.
Worse than Mississippi?
They maybe are a little less Mississippi is a little less hypocritical today than Georgia, but both of them are still practicing the same thing. Now the whites in Georgia bite Negroes with a smile, whereas they used to bite them with a growl. But they're still being bitten, and we don't think that it is any worse to be bitten with a smile than it is to be bitten with a growl.
Mr. Calvert.
While we're on the subject of Mississippi, what is your organization's position of what happened in Mississippi in the past 6 months?
Such as what?
Such as the James Meredith incident and the enrollment of him in the university.
Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wants justice for every one of the 20 million so-called Negroes. And to just take one Negro and stick him in college with the aid of 15,000 troops and at a cost of $6,000 is a disgrace. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. It's a farce. It's hypocrisy. Because if it's right for one Negro to be forced into that university, then every Negro in the state of Mississippi who is qualified has the same right to go to that university. And if the government is not ready and willing to enforce the right of every Negro in the state of Mississippi, then, in my opinion, sir, it's only hypocrisy to pretend that they are for justice by pushing one Negro in and blowing it up all over the world to make it look like they're solving the problem when millions of black people in that state are still going to segregated schools and getting an inferior education.
Does your organization encourage members to attempt to enter schools that have been known as all white in the past?
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad doesn't discourage us from attending white schools, but he does say that it is better for us to go to our own schools, and after we have a thorough knowledge of ourselves, of our own kind, and racial dignity has been instilled within us, then we can go to anyone's school and we'll still retain our race pride, our racial dignity, and we will be able to avoid the subservient inferiority complex that most Negroes have or that is instilled within most Negroes who receive this sort of integrated education.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. You've heard the discussion, you've heard all the two interviews that Malcom X talked, and for the longest time you've heard that he's always been for black people, and he's been questioning the structures that are embedded within the American system, because oftentimes it acts as it doesn't see all these atrocities that are happening to black folks of the United States. Now, from historical perspective, the founding of the United States was built on principles of democracy that were in practice exclusionary, while the Declaration of Independence declared that all men are created equal. This principle did not extend to enslaved Africans or black Americans, indigenous people, or women. Enslavement was legally and economically sanctioned, meaning that democracy functioned selectively. Privileging white male landowners, Malcom X therefore highlighted how America's democratic framework was hypocritical because it did not apply universally. This historical exclusion laid the foundation for systemic racial discrimination that persisted long after formal emancipation. Right. Also, when we get to look at the Reconstruction era following the Civil War, was a brief period when black Americans saw some democratic advancements such as the right to vote and all public office. However, the backlash against these gains led to establishment of Jim Crow laws, which systemically disenfranchised black citizens through voter suppression, segregation, and economic oppression. Malcom X critique emerges from this legacy, emphasizing that democracy in America is often operated as an illusion for black people. Instead of representing inclusion, it functioned as a mechanism that maintained white supremacy under the guise of universal rights. Remember a country coming to say that all men are equal. Well, other men are working for other people as slaves. Tell me, how equal are they? Because to their mind, they're just seeing you as a slave. There's nothing like equal. They don't want you to, vote. They don't want you to be represented. They don't want your voices to be heard. And then they declare that the United States is a democratic country. How is that happening? Right? Political scientists have long debated the role of democracy in perpetuating inequality. The concept of racial democracy suggests that while democratic institutions exist, they are structured in a way that reinforce racial hierarchies. This was evident during the Malcom X lifetime, as Black Americans were subjected to disfranchisement tactics such as literacy tests, poll taxes, and outright violence for attempting to exercise their democratic rights. Even as civil rights legislation aimed to rectify these injustices, the resistance from the state and local governments revealed how democracy could be manipulated to maintain racial oppression rather than dismantle it. Also, giving a sociological perspective about this, the sociological perspective also aligns with the Malcolm X assertion by examining the role of institutional racism in democratic process. Structural racism is embedded in illegal, educational, and economic and political systems, creating barriers that disproportionately affect black communities. While democracy theoretically allows for equal participation, systemic biases in law enforcement, the judiciary and electoral processes continue to disadvantage black voters and candidates. For instance, the overpolicing of black communities and mass incarceration have had a direct impact on voting rights through the felony disfranchisement, further demonstrating the hypocrisy Malcolm X has just condemned on the video. Also, when you get to understand and look at the economic disparities, which further underscores the contradictions within the American democracy, right? And I say that in a democratic society that promotes the ideal of equal opportunity, racial wealth gaps persist due to historical and ongoing policing such as redlining, employment discrimination, and unequal access to quality education. Malcolm X understood that economic power was a crucial component to true democracy. Yet, black communities were systematically denied the resources necessary to achieve financial independence. The exploitation of black labor was without equitable compensation, dating back to slavery and continuing through discriminatory labor practices, illustrates how economic structures undermine democratic participation for marginalized groups. Also, Malcolm X also critiqued the way American democracy functioned on the global stage. He argues that the US government promoted democracy abroad while simultaneously suppressing the rights of its own black citizens. This contradiction was especially evident during the Cold War, when the US positioned itself as a champion of freedom against communism, while racial segregation and violence against black Americans persisted at home. Malcolm X's internationalized perspective led him to advocate for African and third world solidarity, drawing parallelism between the US imperialism and the democratic racial oppression. Also, another crucial element that Malcolm X talks about, his argument, is the role of media in perpetuating democratic hypocrisy. Mainstream media often frame democracy as flawless systems while downplaying racial injustices. Malcolm X criticized how media narratives manipulate public perception, either by vilifying black activists or representing an illusion of progression that did not align with realities of systemic racism. He understood that controlling the narrative was a powerful tool for sustaining the myth of American democracy while silencing dissenting voices. Also, you need to get to know that the civil rights movements, despite advocating for inclusion within the democratic system, also exposed the limits of democracy for Black Americans. Nonviolent protests were often met with brutal repression by state authorities, revealing that democratic rights were conditional and could be revoked when Black citizens demanded for full equality. Also, Malcolm X, in contrast to some civil rights leaders, argued that Black people should not plead for rights that should inherit be theirs. Instead, he promoted self-determination, self-defense, and Black nationalism as necessary response to democratic hypocrisy. Right. So I think this speech was so deep that we need to look at it in a different way. In as much as it was said years and years ago, it is really so resonating with a lot of people like us back here. So thank you for watching the video. Thank you for listening to me, and I'm hoping to see you in my next video. But until then, this is your presenter Jintok Stories, and I'm hoping to see you on my next video. But until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salut.